neighborhood. It's Hannah, and we are back together again for some creating and art making this week. You might hear my cat Sage meowing during this video. She's really interested in doing this art project today. So that's what that noise is if you can hear it in the background. Okay, my friends, do you have any flowers growing in your gardens or in your yards? We're starting to be at the time of year where things are blooming, which is really, really exciting, except for the pollen, which might make us sneeze. But we have had a lot of flower petals starting to drop off of our plants in one of our front gardens as new flowers grow in. Some of the older petals may droop and drop down to the ground. And so we decided to collect them and try out this flower petal printing project. Now, this is part art making and part science project experiment type of deal. So I'll tell you what we need, and then we can all go ahead and get started. The very first step is, of course, to collect some flower petals. It's really important to remember that the grown-ups in our family have to give us permission to use the flower petals. We don't want to pick any flower petals off of flowers that are really important to someone in our family who may have planted them. So make sure you have permission before you get started. Like I said, we have a lot of petals that have fallen down into the mulch in our garden, and those that have fallen down are totally fair game because they're not going to go back on the flower, right? They're already down to the ground. But if you want to pick a couple of fresh ones, you do have to ask permission first and make sure it's not from your neighbor's gardens or from landscaping somewhere out and about, but from a garden that you have permission to borrow some petals from. And I have two assistants who helped me collect all of my petals for this project, and you can see them at work right now. Once you have your bucket filled with petals, then you need to gather your other supplies. For this project, I used a couple of magazines to create some padding for when we're doing this. I set one magazine down on the bottom, and then this one goes on the top, because the tool that we're using to create this art is a hammer. We want to make sure we're on a nice padded surface, so we're not ruining any surfaces in our house like our tabletop. And the next thing we need is some paper. I'm doing this part kind of like an experiment, like I said. We are going to use some thicker pieces of paper like this. This is a cardstock, and we're also going to use some printer paper, just the plain white thin kind of paper that we use for a lot of creating in our house. I'm not sure which style of paper, the thicker or the thinner, will soak up the colors from the petals better. So I'm going to try both, and maybe they'll all turn out fabulous. We'll have to see what happens. This is our first time trying out this style of printing. So what we're gonna do is lay down some paper. It's kind of like a big sandwich. We're gonna put a magazine down on the bottom to protect the surface that we're working on, then lay some paper, and then we're going to set up our flower petals in a desirable way. However you want to set them on the paper. You can create a different image with the flower petals. You can leave them in the shape of a flower. This is totally creative and totally up to you. And once you get them all set up on your paper, then we're going to lie another sheet of paper over the top. And the paper and the petals are the middle parts, the ingredients of our sandwich. And then we'll top off our sandwich with one more magazine. And it keeps the mess to a minimum and gives us a nice padded place, because next we're using a hammer. And we're going to hammer down on top of our magazine and squish up the ingredients in our sandwich that we've made. And once you've done a lot of hammering, you want to go pretty heavy on the hammering, then we can lift up our slices of bread, our sandwich pieces, and see what the prints turned out like inside. Now, if all goes well, all of the colorful, pretty bits of our petals will have printed down onto our paper, and the hammering will have released it so that it stays as a print. Kind of like flowers turned into paint. It's really cool. I guess that's it, my friends. Let's go ahead and get our hammer on and see how these prints turn out. Are we ready for the big reveal? Okay, let's do it. First, here is how my cardstock images turned out. Look at that one. You can see almost the whole flower. The colors are really pretty. And you know what, friends? I think if I had layered some more, I might have even gotten some more colorful bits on this piece, but I still think both of them look really cool. And like I said, I was gonna try 2 different types of paper. So here is the printer paper. Both styles of paper picked up a lot of the pigment, the color from these flower petals. And I just really love the way they turned out. This was on the bottom, this was on the top, and the petals printed from both sides because my hammering was so powerful. So, you're ready to begin. I can't wait to see how your prints turn out. As always, I would love for you to send some pictures of your work to me so I can see what you've been up to and what you've been creating. I hope you enjoyed this petal printing project, Triple P, and I will see you again next time for some more art making together. Have fun, my friends. Happy creating.